Hello and welcome to the Pick and Roll podcast. And today I got a good one for you guys. Just like always, it's going to be my weekly breakdowns of full games for our NBA draft prospects. It's going to be really fun. So I'll give you guys a little intro of what I'm going to go ahead and break down for you guys today. The first game was Boise State versus New Mexico. There's a guy named Chibuzo Agbo from Boise State that I've had kind of pegged on my internal board as somebody that I would like to watch a full game of. I was trying to watch him play Air Force or Wyoming because they had some players that maybe might be draft prospect worthy, but I wasn't able to find a game of that, so I had to kind of take a left turn and go with the available game, which was that game that I could find. He's 6'7" from Boise State, so I'm going to go ahead and break it down to him. The next game that I watched was Kentucky versus Arkansas. So we got Justin Wagner, DeJuan Wagner, Reed Shepard, Rob Dillingham, Aaron Bradshaw, Sevronmir Ivizic, just like a huge team of breakdowns. And Arkansas's got Trevon Brazile, really fun breakdown. Dylan Jones from Weber State, somebody that we've watched before. This is going to be the second time I wanted to watch him. A lot of people have him much higher on their big boards and mock drafts than I personally have had him, so I just want to watch a second game just to confirm my thought process on him. And then I watched a game of Baylor versus TCU. I've watched Emmanuel Miller before, who was Leonard Miller's brother. I wanted to watch another game of him to get a second game of full game breakdowns. And subsequently, since they did play Baylor in that game, watched Jacoby Walter, Jalen Bridges, and Yavis Messi. And then I also had the pleasure of watching Tijuan Saloon and Zachary Rasher, who are both first-round lottery locks for a lot of people. Watch them break down those two guys because they played against each other today, actually, which is Saturday, March 9th. Man, it was fun to watch. So those are the games that I'm going to be breaking down for you guys this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys are definitely going to want to stick around for it. So let's go ahead and kick it off to the Boise State's Chibuzo Agbo. All right. So he's 6'7" from Boise State. He's averaging 13.6 points per game, 5 rebounds, 45% field goal percentage, 41% three-point percentage, and 72% free throw percentage. So, the first thing that I noticed about him whenever I watched him quickly a while ago was 6'7", nice strong body frame, and, could shoot well, looks like he handles decently well. That's what I saw in this game as well. A guy that's got a really nice standstill three-point shot, a guy who's really long, really good defensively. I mean, he's definitely too good for the Mountain West level. He definitely puts his imprint on the game when anybody plays against him on that Mountain West level. He's very athletic, very strong defensively. He's very tough for other teams, rebounds-wise, clashing the glass. And when he ever cuts the rim and it's open, it's 2 points. It's just he's a very solid, 226 pounds, 6'7" guy. That's a really strong frame. So, he's a strong guy, and I personally do prefer stronger guys defensively. I think it leads to better defenders. Again, the PJ Tuckers of the world, Kawhi Leonards of the world, LeBron Jameses of the world, Scottie Pippens of the world, Karl Malones of the world, other Jason Tatums of the world, Paul Georges of the world, even though he was a little thinner, but now he's strong. Most of the time, the great on-ball defenders are stronger. So, I definitely feel like he fits the profile that I personally like out of 3-and-D wigs, as a nice, strong guy, standstill three-point shot. He's a senior, so he's going to come out this year. He's on nobody's big board. I personally would have a 45 to 50 grade on him. I think he has a chance to be a rotational 3-and-D wing in the NBA, and I personally think he's pretty decent. I'm not going to update him on the big board yet, not until March 9th finishes and we get next week's scouting done. Well, I'll update the big board because March 9th is basically the end of regular season, which is today, and then we can see finalized stats of players and start putting people in different places. All right, so now that is done, let's go ahead and kick it to Kentucky versus Arkansas. Got a lot of guys to talk about. Let's go ahead and just start with the first one on the list, Justin Edwards. So Justin Edwards is 6'7", and he's averaging 8.7 points per game, 49% field goal percentage, 36% 3-point percentage, which is huge for him. I mean, Justin Edwards' 3-point percentage was like 27-26% at the beginning of the year. So he's definitely made big jumps in that area. Defensively, depends on how locked in he is. Sometimes he looks like a great defender. Sometimes he looks like an average defender. It comes and goes. I wish he was more aggressive driving to the rim, but also maybe a lack of skill thing. He might not just be very confident in his handle. He does have some upside. I personally have had him in the 35 through 40 draft range, but now that I'm seeing that 36% 3-point shot percentage, I might move him a little bit more. He might be more in the draft range of like an elite late second round draft pick, or even a very, very late first round draft pick guy with some upside, because he's probably going to come out as a freshman. Yeah, I have a 36 through 40 draft pick grade. As of right now on the big board, he's 42, but he'll move. If that's, well, I mean, his 3-point percentage is going to stick. There's only one game left, so it's not going to move that much. So he'll move with the board. I genuinely did not know until I just looked that his 3-point shot has gotten that much better throughout the season, which is all credit to him. Hey, he must be working. So that's good news for him. All right, let's go ahead and kick it to the next guy to break down, DeJuan Wagner. DeJuan Wagner is a 6'2", 6'3" point guard, averaging 10 points per game, 3.4 assists, 42% field goal percentage, and 32% 3-point percentage. And he's another 3-point shooter that's gotten better as the year has gone on. He's another guy that was like 28%. He has improved his 3-point shot. I still have a borderline late second round draft pick grade. I'd say the most NBA ready skill he has is on-ball defense. I definitely think that's the best thing that he does so far. He drives to the rim decently, and he has some decent feel and touch for finishing around the rim. But the 42% field goal percentage is saying that's pretty raw at this point in time, probably as well. So, there's not like a ton of offensive skill in his game. If I was personally giving him recommendations, I'd tell him to come back to college. But yeah, he's a draftable guy, a very late second round draft pick. I'd put grade on him. Interesting, but I don't see him moving much up more the bigger than where he's at right now. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Reed Sheppard, who's listed at 6'2". He's averaging 12 points per game, 4.5 assists, 2.6 steals, 53% field goal percentage, 83% free throw percentage, and 51% 3-point percentage. So obviously, I've talked about him multiple times in the past. His standstill 3-point shot is amazing. I mean, he's probably the best standstill 3-point shooter in the draft class. I mean, 51% field goal percentage from standstill 3-point shots, and, a pull-up 3-point shot in the pick and roll. It's definitely the best 3-point percentage in there. That's by far the most elite skill that he has. He's a great, his 2.6 steals is just a credit to his very unique gift of feel for getting steals. It's really hard to put into words. That's a little John Stockton-ish defensively. I'm not going to say like, oh my gosh, he's next to John Stockton, but John Stockton is the all-time steal leader defensively, not because he was Gary Payton locking people up and getting steals. He was in passing lanes and had a really just unique feel for getting in the passing lanes and getting steals. And Reed Sheppard seems to have a similar just natural-born gift or intelligence gift. He's a solid passer, but for me, everything questions-wise has everything to do with inside the 3-point line. How well does he finish at the rim? How well does he have a mid-range shot? How well can he finish through contact? And you see him in those situations, man, and there's a few times in this game where he's driving to the rim and he's there. He's at the rim, and any semi-average NBA level point guard, even NBA draft prospect in college, would make that layup at the rim, and he kicks it out to a shooter in a really good situation. The shooter's not even open. He was kind of like, oh, I feel so awkward in this situation, but kick. Like, that's an issue, right? He can shoot the three really well, but he's not a great athlete, below average. Those below average athletes have to be able to answer, can they finish at the rim in the paint through skill to overcome their lack of athletic gifts? And he's not showing that at all. That's a huge red flag. He's very interesting. I still have him as a 22 to 26 draft pick. I view him as a guy that could be an elite backup point guard in the NBA. I just don't see starter. A lot of people were really high on him. I just disagree with that take. All right, Let's go ahead and kick us to the next guy on the list for Kentucky because they have never-ending draft prospects. Let's go to Rob Dillingham. Oh, this is going to be fun. So, Rob Dillingham averages 15.1 points per game, 2.8 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 1.1 steals, 6 foot, by the way, also. 48% field goal percentage, 77% free throw percentage, and 44% three-point percentage. So, man, Rob Dillingham had one heck of a game. Man, was he dominant against Arkansas. He looked like the guy on the floor that was just on a different level than everybody else. I mean, Arkansas kept on trying to come back in this game, and even Reed Sheppard was like, I'm not going to close this game out. Every time in the last 3 minutes of the game, the ball was going to, even by Reed Sheppard, even by other guys that can get a bucket, to Rob Dillingham. They're like, we need a bucket late in this game. Rob Dillingham's going to get it. And he kept on scoring. If they don't have Rob Dillingham in that game, they lose against Arkansas in that game. Arkansas was shooting the cover off the three ball that game. They're keeping pace with them all game, and Rob Dillingham turned out the lights. And, he was in the pick and roll with Zavron Ivicic, and was looking dynamite, hitting passes to him in the pick and roll, looking dynamite, unstoppable in the mid-range, and shot creating in the mid-range, and shot creating at the three-point line. And in this game, he had some super tough finishes at the rim, and he's putting it all together right now. That's the genuine answer from this. Rob Dillingham is putting it all together right now. That was the game that sold me on Rob Dillingham. It was such an amazing game that I was like, man, I need to really think long and hard about who would be an interesting comp for him, because I might be underrating him. And then I went, and as a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, Darius Garland's over similar to height and moving up skills, so I'm kind of curious. I'm going to watch Darius Garland play at Vanderbilt. And when I tell you that Darius Garland is a clone of Rob Dillingham, I am telling you Darius Garland is a clone of Rob Dillingham. Bro, Darius Garland might be an inch taller, but they were both extremely quick and fast for the height. They weren't vertically athletic, but watching the footwork and the shiftiness and the handle and all the shot creation ability, finishing at the rim, just having crazy tough shots and shooting great efficiency and looking great doing it. It was a clone of what I've been watching Rob Dillingham do this all year. And I can't believe, as a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, I was born in Cleveland in 1997, grew up with LeBron, that I didn't see this earlier, right? But this is why I always watch so many high quantity of games, because you never know when something's going to click, and you never know how somebody's game is going to grow. And I really believe in being diligent with scouting and watching many games of this. So Rob Dillingham has proven to me that he's a top 5 pick. He has moved up to my draft big board. He is now the 4th guy to have a top 5 big grade for me. That's Alex Sarr, Isaiah Collier, Cody Williams, and Rob Dillingham. He's now the 4th ranked guy in my big board, above Zachary Richer, above Kyle Filipowski, above Saloon, above Messi. He's a clone of Darius Garland, and his shot creation skills are what makes him so elite. Look, because to be a 6-foot guy and to be elite in the NBA, you need to be a skill guy that's just insanely skilled and has to have quick and fast gifts, right? And Rob Dillingham checks off every single box of what is required from a small, tiny NBA level point guard. They need to shoot the cover of the three ball. It shoots 44% of the 3-point line. That at 44% from the 3-point line and 48% field goal percentage off the tough shots that he takes is absolutely mind-boggling at 6 foot. You have to be small guys need to be able to shoot threes, tough threes, shot create the 3-point line, shot create in the mid-range, has to have crazy difficult shots, and he checks off every one of those boxes. I'm going to say it again. Those shooting splits for that play style is absolutely insane. Insane. Rob Dillingham is him. He's the real deal. He's the number 4 guy on my big board. And I truly believe that he can be an all-star just like Darius Garland. I truly believe that he can be a 20-7 guy just like Darius Garland. And whoever gets him is going to be winning the draft pick. man, Rob Dillingham can't be stopped. That was one dominant performance by Rob Dillingham. It was great to watch. I had so much fun watching, and man, congratulations to him, because wow. And it's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Because when he came out of high school, I saw 6'2" guard. It's like no chance unless he can pass. Well, he's checked off every single thing that could possibly be checked off about him. This is by far the best version of Rob Dillingham that I ever could have imagined coming out of high school. He's blown the doors off. Rob Dillingham is the real deal. All right, let's go ahead and kick it to the next guy. This Kentucky team, which is Aaron Bradshaw. Aaron Bradshaw is 7'1", somewhere in that range. He's averaging 5.4 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 57% field goal percentage, 57% free throw percentage, and 28% 3-point percentage. So one of the bigger things about this for him is the 28% 3-point percentage has come a long way. It's like 22, 23% earlier in the year. You know, he's definitely an extremely thin guy, and it will take a very long time, maybe 4 to 6 years, for him to put on enough muscle and, you know, become less raw for us to see the best version of him. But he does have some upside to be a solid starting center in the league. I view him as a developmental prospect, as somebody that I have a 35 through 40 draft grade on, and I have him 38th on my big board. But I could see a team that may need, love a 3-point shooting center, that may need a developmental guy, maybe even drafting him in the first round. Something like Milwaukee, it's like a long-term development guy to Brook Lopez. So yeah, it's crazy how far that 3-point shot has come throughout the year. He's definitely grown. A lot of Kentucky players has got better at 3-point shooting as the season's gone on. So Aaron Bradshaw's improved a little bit. Nice to see. All right, the last guy to break down is Zvonimir Ivisic from Kentucky, 7'2". He's played 12 games this year, starting to get a bigger sample size. He's averaged 6.1 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 1.3 blocks, 54% field goal percentage, 83% free throw percentage, and 37% 3-point percentage. So, yeah, 7'2", really definitely has a bigger body frame than Aaron Bradshaw. Definitely is not as a raw body frame. Definitely has the body frame that looks like he can put on enough muscle to defend the rim at the NBA level, and he already looks like he has a good feel for defending the rim. You see him defend the rim pretty well, show you flashes of doing that, like he did in this game against Arkansas. You know, he shows flashes of really nice passing and not a really interesting handle for the size, and that standstill 3-point shot at 37%. You put those things together, and you have somebody that could be a pretty solid center in the NBA, maybe even a starting level guy. You know, I personally have him ranked 22 to 26 on my big board, and have him the 27th guy on my big board. But, you know, he could move up a little bit because his upside is really intriguing, and trying to find centers that can pass, dribble, shoot a 3, and 7'2" frame is pretty hard to find. So really intriguing guy, interesting guy, and, you know, it was a fun watch. He's kind of like a raw Kyle Filipowski, honestly. It's a little taller. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Arkansas' side of thing, which is Trevon Brazile. 6'10". He looks 6'10". Man, is he huge. He's so tall. He's averaging 8.3 points per game, 5 rebounds, 48% field goal percentage, 34% 3-point percentage. So, you know, this guy's handle looks really raw. Defensively, he's so thin that, you know, for him to reach his full upside, it will take some time. He's a developmental 3-and-D prospect. He is a very athletic, a very smooth basketball player. So he has some just natural gifts that you just can't teach. The standstill 3-point shot looks pretty decent. Me personally, I view him as a developmental 3-and-D wing that I have a 26 through 30 draft grade on, late first round, and he's number 30 on my big board as of right. All right, so the next game to break down is Weber State. That's going to be Jalen Jones. Jalen Jones is averaging 20 points per game, 10 rebounds, 5.2 assists, 48% field goal percentage, 32% 3-point percentage, and 85% 3-point percentage. So, you know, Jalen Jones is, to me, somebody that he's a bigger guy. He weighs 235 pounds, which is probably a lie. He's 245, 250. He's a bigger guy. He's a strong guy, but he's not super trimmed up. You know, he's somebody that has a decent mid-range game, and he plays through his physicality at the rim. He's not very athletic. If I had to term him, I'd say below average athlete is best. I wouldn't call him a good defender. And, his shot creation skills is good enough with his strength for that level. But the reason why I'm not high on him is when you're 6'6" and you're playing at Weber State and you're really strong and you're very strong for that low level of competition, when you have some skill, it's easy to move people around that are the same height as you, or maybe even a little shorter, the people that are guarding him. And it's easy for him to get a shot off, to get his game off, to move people around at that level, because he's bigger, stronger, faster than most of them. But if you put him in the NBA and he has to go against even a backup 6'8" guy that's long, more athletic than him, and not so weak that when he puts his shoulder into him, he just moves and he can get his okay shot creation off, his game is going to be absolutely and completely shut down. He's not some wildly skilled player either. Average at best, NBA scoring skill at best, right? So you pair a lot of things together and you look at him and it's just like, I just don't see it. I don't see his scoring skill translating to the NBA level. I just don't think the combination of the height, the lack of athletic gifts, the lack of overwhelming skill to overcome these weaknesses would, allow him to do what he's doing here. I don't even think he could do it against like Big 12 competition or like the Big East where they got big players, right? If he went up against some like 6'7", 6'8" wings in college, he'd do okay, not 20 points a game. So, I think he's a perfect fit to have a great stat line against that competition. But the 32% three-point percentage and the not overwhelming defensive gifts and being 6'6", but not ever being able to guard a two-guard because he's way too slow, equals somebody that's not even a great fit to be a 3-and-D guy. So I personally still have him really low on my big board. I have him, let's see here, number 55. I have him graded as a 50 through 55 draft pick, and I'm not moving on that. He reminds me a little bit of Justin Winslow, who was kind of in and out of the league. A lot of people have him at worst early second round. Some people have him in the first round. I just personally disagree with it because of the reasons I just stated. I just don't view him as an NBA draft pick worthy guy. And if I had the 55th pick in the draft, I wouldn't even draft him. I'd probably draft some high upside guy instead of drafting a guy that I just don't see the future in. So, yeah, I'm not high on him for the reasons that I just stated. All right, let's go ahead and kick it to the next game, which is going to be TCU versus Baylor. So we got Emmanuel Miller from TCU averaging 16 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 49% field goal percentage, 40% free three-point percentage, and 82% free throw percentage. So this guy, sorry about that. This guy's a pretty solid standstill shooter. In the first game, he showed more flashes of mid-range shot creation. In this game, he didn't show it as much. He's 6'7". He moves pretty well defensively. He looks like an above average NBA defender. He has some nice strength on his body frame, and 40% free point percentage is really nice. So I still view him as an NBA draft prospect worthy. He went from 26 to 30 on my draft pick on my big board to 36 through 40. I have him ranked 43rd on my big board right now. View him as a mid-second round guy, but I don't view him as a late first round draft pick anymore. He moved down slightly, but nothing too crazy. All right, let's go ahead and break down the next group of guys. The next group of guys involves Jacoby Walter. Let's go ahead and break down Jacoby Walter, 6'5", averaging 14.7 points per game, 1.6 assists, 1.1 steals, 38% field goal percentage, 83% free throw percentage, and 33% three-point percentage. So, Jacoby Walter is a big-time guy that's moved down extremely down my draft board. He used to be a lottery lock, as bit high as like a top 5, top 6, 7 ranked guy on my big board. There is, again, a huge cutoff line all-time, cutoff time line in the past 10 years of starting level shooting guards and 40% field goal percentage. If you guys want me to read off the list again, in case you didn't hear it the first time that I brought out this list, I'll read out the list to you again. So these are the list of starting level shooting guards in the NBA, or even low level, what their field goal percentages were in college, or the year college or European, the year before they got drafted. I'm going to run through these names really fast. CJ McCollum, 49%. Bradley Beal, 44%. DeMar DeRozan, 53%. Jaylen Brown, 43%. Malcolm Brogdon, 45%. Derek White, 50%. RJ Barrett, 45%. James Harden, 48%. Gary Trent, 41%. Zach LaVine, 44%. Jaden Ivey, 46%. Donovan Mitchell, 41%. Benedict Mathurin, 45%. Chris Duarte, 53%. Drew Holiday, 45%. Victor Oladipo, 59%. Gordon Hayward, 46%. Duncan Robinson, 44%. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 43%. Anthony Edwards, 40%. Jalen Williams, 51%. Jordan Clarkson, 44%. Klay Thompson, 43%. Jordan Poole, 43%. Eric Gordon, 43%. Devin Booker, 47%. Kevin Huerter, 50%. Desmond Bane, 45%. Keldon Johnson, 46%. Kevin Porter Jr., 47%. And Cam Thomas, 40%. So, the only people that have 40% is Anthony Edwards, like I talked before. He played at Georgia. If he didn't score 22, they didn't win. Everything was a really tough shot, so that 40% was taken with a grain of salt. Same thing with Cam Thomas. LSU sucked that year that he played for them. He led all freshmen in scoring that year. If he didn't score 22, then his team lost. So that 40% was taken with a grain of salt. Jacoby Walter plays in a very easy offense where he's not forced to take a lot of tough shots. He has a lot of off-ball movement. He gets a lot of good looks. And the 38% field goal percentage is really poor in his situation. So he's moved down from 7 to 8 on the big board to 20 and have an 18th or 20 draft pick grade. Sure, does see some flashes of some shot creation and 3-point shot coming off screens, and every once in a while he'll show driving to the rim. But I just don't believe in the field goal percentage historically. I view him as a developmental guy and a boom or bust guy. And the bust is much more realistic than the boom. So I have him graded as 18th or 20 draft pick, and he's not moving from that. He's never going to be a lottery guy for me. If somebody drafts him in the lottery, he'll probably be a bust. So, Jacoby Walter. All right, let's go ahead and kick it to Yavis Messi. So Yavis Messi is 6'11", averaging 11 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, 62% field goal percentage, 61% free throw percentage. And really interesting, just like the last game where I talked about, man, Yavis Messi shocked me with his ability to drive the rim. He did it again in this game as well. It's really fun to watch. His handle looks really interesting. It has really just exponentially exploded his possible offensive ceiling. And when you add that to somebody who's very athletic, rebounds extremely well, defends the rim really well, and moves on the perimeter really well for the center position, you get an elite center prospect that's got a really high floor. I right now have him number 7 on my big board, have him graded through 8 through 10 draft pick. I really believe in it. And Yavis Messi is really, really safe. He'll be a starting center in the NBA for a while. All right, let's go ahead and kick it to the last guy to break down from Baylor, which is Jalen Bridges, 6'9", averaging 11.9 points per game, 46% field goal percentage, 83% free throw percentage, and 42% three-point percentage. So this guy's really athletic. He defends on ball really well. He stands still shots real well. Every once in a while you see him come off ball screens as a three-point shooter. He looks pretty average dribbling the basketball. Nothing crazy amazing there. But I still have him graded as a 22 through 26 draft pick. I view him as a really solid 3D role player, and he's a 26th ranked guy on my big board, and I don't see him moving off that. All right, so the last game to talk about is Zachary Richer versus Tijuan Saloon, which is so much fun to watch. So let's talk about Zachary Richer first. He's from France, 6'8". He's averaging about 10 points per game. He's doing on 20%, not 20%, 50%, 2-point percentage, and 38%, 3-point percentage, and 72% free throw percentage. So, Zachary Richer's definitely an elite 3-point shooter, 6'8". He's extremely smooth, really nice handle, flashed ability to get to the rim today, which is really nice to see. He showed some flashes of shot creation off the dribble as well, which was really nice to see. He's definitely a smooth shot creator. He's got some interesting shot creation upside. I definitely still have him graded as a 6 through 8 draft pick. He is the 5th guy ranked on my big board. I still do view him as a better version of Nicholas Batum. If you guys remember Nicholas Batum, it was really good on Portland. That's his best version of Nicholas Batum, who I think he's at Clippers as of right now. And, really interesting guy. I still have him where I have him, and I don't think he's going to move any more down the list. All right, so the next guy from that game is Tijuan Saloon. He's 6'9", averaging 8.2 points per game off of, depending on what league you're looking at. In the France league, he's averaging 37% 2-point percentage, 35% 3-point percentage, 72% free throw percentage. But in the basketball champions league, he's averaging 10 points a game, 58% 2-point percentage, and 35% 3-point percentage, and 89% free throw percentage. Different stats for those two things. In this game, his handle looked a little more raw than I was used to seeing. I think it's definitely a growing question mark that I have on his handle. His overall field goal percentage is pretty low. It's definitely a question mark. He's a good standstill shooter, very good athlete, 6'9". People aren't meant to move the way he moves. He's very smooth athletically and just really nice. Defensively, he's very, very good. He, again, reminds me a ton of the general body build and the athletic gifts of Andrei Kirilenko. I don't think he's as good of a defender, especially on ball, but maybe as like a team defender, he's similar. He's very phenomenal team defense-wise. He's extremely elite at those things. He's a good standstill three-point shot, but everything else just looks really raw right now. So he's moved down a smidge on the big board from being like 7 to 8 to now he's number 11 on my big board. I have him as a 10 through 12 draft pick grade. He might move down a little bit lower, maybe a 12 through 14, and maybe move below Nikola Topic, who is number 12 on my big board. So he's number 11, below Ron Holland and Nikola Topic now. Interesting guy, a very high upside guy, but there is a very realistic chance that he busts just because like the overall efficiency, things that needs to be developed, but there's just such intriguing high upside there. So really interesting. All right, so that's the end of this week's breakdowns. So next week, I got a really good week for you guys, which is going to be Kentucky versus Tennessee. They're playing today. We got Justin Edwards, DeJuan Wagner, Reed Shepard, Rob Dillingham, Aaron Bradshaw, Zivanovic, Ivisic versus Dalton Knecht, obviously 6'6". I wanted to watch Dalton Knecht again, so watching all these guys play against each other really is going to cement my draft grades for these guys. And then to also happening today is USC versus Arizona. I want to watch Isaiah Collier at least one more time. He's going to play against Arizona. And Caleb Love, who is a 6'4" two guard, has been in the draft chalks for a while, and his shooting splits are finally starting to come around, is definitely somebody that I want to watch. I also will watch Providence versus Marquette next week. We got Tyler Kokek, Oso Gabaro, Devin Carter. I do want to watch Devin Carter at least a second time to confirm my rankings for him. And then we'll also watch Alex Sarr, which is going to be the last game of Alex Sarr. I want to watch him play. It doesn't look like there will be the availability to watch somebody play from France that week. So basically, it's going to be that's going to be the end of that week. Only 4 games broken down for next week. And basically, obviously, I will Sunday night, I think it's on 6 p.m. Let's see here. Let me double check. I have a link here. At 6 p.m. next Sunday, March 17th, March Madness brackets will be released to prepare for you guys, to give you guys the best information that I possibly can about what March Madness brackets, because you guys are going to give you your time to make your brackets and stuff like that. I'm going to try to prepare the best I can. So I've watched at least 10 minutes, like a first quarter, 10 minutes of games of anybody that's in bracketology that's supposed to be at least a 7 to 8 seed or higher. I've watched. So, I've watched a lot. I've been trying to get, caught up on college basketball and who's doing well and who I like. And, I've also been watching some videos and trying to get some research on like some significant stats to bring for that March Madness breakdown. So Sunday night after that, I will release a podcast special for March Madness, make my bracket, and try to basically give you guys some good information to make your own brackets. So, it's going to be really good. Can't wait to break all that down for you guys. And also the weeks after that, after that week, it will be 3 consecutive weeks of mock draft. It will be 1 through 15 in my mock, 15 through 30, and then the second round. 3 consecutive weeks of a mock draft. And that's because I am going to, instead of spending time trying to find small program guys that could be NBA draft prospects, 100% of the people that get drafted last year were invited to the NBA Draft Combine. So I am going to wait until the NBA Draft Combine list is announced to go into deep dive of smaller level guys. That's why we've spent so much time focusing on the high level draft picks that we know are going to be drafted and the guys are going to be locks, so I can have all these breakdowns really set before these NBA Combine invites get announced, so that I can research the borderline guys and make the best content for you guys. So it's going to be a really fun 3 weeks where I'm going to give you guys a really good mock draft and for the 3 weeks after the next week. So, yeah, it's going to be really fun. Definitely going to want to stick by and listen. And I really appreciate everybody that listens to this podcast and anybody that's listening to goes online and views my big board. It's some mock drafts that's linked on every podcast and on the Spotify homepage for my podcast as well. So I really appreciate anybody listening. I really appreciate everybody that shares the podcast or just really enjoys it. Really appreciate everything that's being you guys do listening and supporting my podcast. And yeah, everybody have a great rest of your week.